the Strategic Leadership Group held a workshop on transport. What happened there?
The main focus of the workshop was to, first and foremost, to talk about the issues and opportunities, the constraints and matters facing transport planning and decision making, both in a wider national context but also at a sub-regional level. As part of that, there was also discussion around the legislative and regulatory frameworks and the nature of those, and also looking at some case studies from around in the Auckland and Wellington context, and whether there were any lessons to be learned from those areas and how they might apply to transport planning and funding and delivery in the Western Bay of Plenty sub-region.
And so the outcomes from the meeting?
So there were two key outcomes for the immediate future. One was in terms of requesting staff to report back in terms of current collaboration arrangements across those partners that have a transportation functional role. Are there any gaps? Are the partners on an improvement pathway in terms of that collaboration? And as part of that, is there an improving way that community engagement is occurring around the broad range of transport related matters? Also requesting report back in terms of what are the parameters and elements of taking a sub-regional approach to transport planning, thinking and decision making. So really wanting to understand what are the key elements of all of that, which includes funding a multimodal approach in terms of transportation, and looking at some of the wider issues in terms of planning, the pricing of transport in New Zealand, and what a joined up story on transport may look like, which is particularly important in terms of undertaking any sub-regional advocacy on behalf of the sub-region to government agencies, ministers and officials.
You did mention there the number of partners, and there do seem to be a few that different agencies who play a role in transport. So what's SmartGrowth's role in this space?
SmartGrowth's role is bringing together the range of agencies or partners for those joined up conversations, that joined up thinking. And they cover, whether it's a territorial local authority such as Tauranga City or Western Bay of Plenty District, the Bay of Plenty Regional Council, New Zealand Transport Agency, and then there are national agencies such as the Ministry of Transport that also have roles in the transport space, along with the DHB, particularly from a health perspective.
And so the next steps from here for SmartGrowth?
Well, it's certainly just understanding how that collaboration is working at the present time, and also working on then, once we understand what the elements of a sub-regional approach look like, then the potential for SmartGrowth to undertake in a partnership basis advocacy to various agencies and ministers on sub-regional transport matters, and also continuing and ensuring that there is integration between land use and transport in the further development of the Western Bay of Plenty sub-region.
And finally, when do you expect to get all that information together?
Well, hopefully we'll have the reporting back occurring with the next 2 to 3 months, because we need to be in a position, if we're going to undertake advocacy in the transport space, that we have clearly define what the sub-regional issues are and those matters that we wish to then engage with government agencies and more particularly government ministers on around February, March of next year.